Alright, hello everyone, Mustache again, and we'll model today something like this, the potato head figure. So what we'll do is, first of all, this is a fresh file. The only thing that's changed is the length is set to centimeters, so in the scene properties that's changed. And we have the scale of the grid set to 0.01. That's a quite kind of dense grid. Now, first of all, we can go right away into the front view. So I'm using Alt key to position my view. And where's the image? This is the reference image I want to use. I can just drag and drop it and zoom out a bit. Now this image, it must be fairly large. So, but before we adjust it, if you press Shift A and you go to image, there is something called reference. So this is exactly the same thing that we have here. It's just drag and drop, and it's a little bit easier. Alright, so we don't know the actual size yet, so we have to adjust the size. And to adjust the size, I will just move it away a bit and create a sphere as kind of a reference of the body. And this should be fairly small, function key 9 to see what's the actual size. And this was set to 5 centimeters because I've previously adjusted something like that. So this is fair enough. I will repeat this because the settings are different, but actually it's so much difference now in the reference image and the sphere. I want to first match the reference image and then recreate my sphere and adjust the segments and other things. Okay, so go to the front view and use scale and scale it down, zoom in and scale it down until it fits. Okay, that's fairly close. I think it's should be fine here. And I will move it to match. Alright, so that's fair enough. And yeah, there's quite a bit of a distance here. Okay, zooming in. And right, now I don't want to accidentally move it, or I don't want to be able to select it. So what I will do is, this is an empty, function key 2, rename it to reference. And as it is, we can choose different filters and apply something like selection filter, selectable. So that will be, it's not selectable and it's not renderable. So it won't be visible in the rendered images. Okay, so here we are. Now select this guy. This is a sphere, and my problem is Shift F, is that this sphere has quite a lot of triangles in the top. So to be able to model smoothly and nicely, I don't want to use these triangles. So how to manage that? And also this is a fairly high resolution compared to a basic body blocking out. So what I will do, just let me hit delete and create a new one, a U sphere, and function key 9 to be able to access to the settings. And I will set the segments pretty low, so 12. And the rings, that's the that orientation, that was set also a little bit lower. So my goal here is just make sure that there's something in the center. Okay, that's 9, that's not good. Maybe we'll give it a try at 8 and 8. It is looking promising. It is fairly low. Yeah, okay, that's fine for me. So what to do? Right away, just go to edit mode and number 2 because it's edge, and this is what I will do. So let me show it in the top. So we have quads, and we have triangles and triangles. Now each of the triangles, if I'm selecting the centering edge and removing that edge, it will actually create a quad polygon. It's not nice, but it is a quad polygon. So let me just hit delete. We don't need to worry about vertices, and sorry, Control X to remove them. And what we have now, so here's 1 point, another one, and the 4th point. So this is actually a quad model, which one is good. Now what's the difference? If I just temporarily apply a subdivision surface, this is how it looks. It's fairly nice the way it looks. Let me choose this optimal display. So we have all quads, And in the other area, I can see that because we have triangles here, we have this weird star. So this is the reason why we want to create that little trick. All right, now let me just hit delete. By hovering over and pressing X, it will delete in object mode, it will delete the modifier itself. And still we have to do the same at the very bottom. So edit mode 2 and select these vertices. So this one, this one, this one, and this one, and including these. And Control X to get rid of them, dissolving them. And there we are, and there we are, and we can go to the front. And right away, we should create a double of it. Okay, so we will use this little sphere in multiple cases for multiple areas. So for this reason, before I do anything crazy, I will just Shift D and drag maybe on the horizontal axis directly, and I won't be shy, I will do it again, and on the x-axis, and there we go. And sphere 0, 1 and 0, 2 I will just rename as spare 0, 0, 1 and spare 0, 0, 2. Okay, so, and hiding them away. Alright, that's great. So this is the original model. We can move forward by creating the body. So the way we do it is going back to the front, and I want to stretch this out a bit. So to actually do that, I need more segments when it's once stretched out. So let me go into edit mode, and vertices will be just fine. And I want to B box select all the vertices in the top, but be careful, because if you're not in see-through mode, it won't select the back points. So for that, it's all Alt Z, and now it's see-through. I can select all the points around, and I can press G and Y and pull this up a bit, and it can right away I can use scale and scale it down to make a little bit of a better match to the shape, and Control R to insert some segments. Yeah, I think this is a great number, and yeah, it's fine, and just scaling them a bit up to add a roundness. Alright, so this is quite a good match. Alright, I think this one is going nicely, this was going nicely, but this one should be a little bit more rounded. So we need a belly. Let me go to edge mode, select this edge, holding down Alt, that selects the ring, press S and scale this up slightly to add the curvature that we need. Okay, so here's the basic shape. It's kind of an egg shape. If you wish, you can adjust. This is more straight. Excuse me, this is more straight, but that's fine for me now. Alright, we will use the very same thing for the eyes and other parts. So right away, let me turn off the visibility, see-through mode, and go to object mode, and apply a subdivision surface modifier, which one in levels in the viewport. That should be at least 2. Yeah, so don't be that much blocky, and because 2 is already not enough in the rendering viewport, we should crank it up about 4, so that will generate a nice rendering smoothness. Alright, so the very same thing. Let me just undo my spare and select this one, Shift D, and I will make a copy of it, and just right away rename it in the viewport, function key 2. I will name it to eyeball, eye and ball, and this will be right, so eyeball R, and the spare should not be visible. Let me go in here, sorry, let me go in here and move it, and scale it down a bit. Okay, and scale it down a bit more. And what we do need is stretching. So this is the transform tool that I'm using, nothing special. And maybe rotating a bit in this direction to fit better, and pulling in, and let me see it from the front. Okay, yeah, see, and pull this a little bit up front. Yeah, just tilting it. Okay, so how this looks. It's fairly nice. It's not tilted that much, I think, so that should be a little bit more straight. And this is the centering polygon. So which one is the centering polygon? This is the centering polygon. These eyes are not that far apart. Okay, that's fine. And definitely what we do need is we need a copy of it later on to create the eyelids. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty much fine. The center of the eye, the iris, should be created by copying this one, so Shift D, and along the y-axis, moving it a little bit to the front, scale it down, and moving it a little bit. Yeah, that's actually where the position should be, and we have to be careful with the resolution. But right now, what I will do is I will duplicate this model with Shift D and keep it in place. So just right click, and now we have eyeball R002, and we'll just move it a little bit to the top and go to isolation mode and remove some of the polygons, so make it see-through, and number 3, and select these polygons and just delete these faces, and Alt Z and press tab and leave isolation mode. So this is what we have, and maybe a little bit of a scale should be done, and moving it a little bit to the bottom. And actually, if we wish, we can just rotate it around, but I will leave it as it is. Alt E to may have a grip on the edges. And the modifier, before I apply it, I will apply a scale. So Control A, apply scale, and apply the modifier called Solidify. And this Solidify is generating a thickness. Which one is a little bit too much, so we don't need it. It's just 0.2. That's fair enough, and we don't need fill, only rim. Okay, so this is a kind of a little cheat that if the inside is not necessarily needed, you can save some polygons, and that way texturing could be easier. So let me go back, and now we have this little eye thingy. Okay, we will use mirror, but before we use mirror, the main issue is that the center of these objects are a little bit different, and the center of these objects are respecting the original geometry center. So for that way, to avoid that, we need a reference point that can act as a guide to center of mirror, and that will act as a center of mirror. So the actual issue is it will be called an empty. That's an object without geometry, plain axis. And let me scale it down. So selecting all 3, left mouse button held down, and I'm moving until it reaches a reasonable size. And I will keep it at the bottom, and this will be like a main mirror reference. So let me rename it to empty and mirror. Okay, so that will be empty mirror. So in that case, what I will do is select this model, modifier, and mirror, and pick this guy, and now it's mirrored along the axis. Okay, so this is what we see. Alright, so the next thing is we can do actually the same thing. Mirror, pick the model, there we are, let's pick one, and yeah, this was the center. So this one already has a solidify, and then just mirror and pick, and there we are. Okay, that's nice. We also need subdivision, but because these are actually a pair of models, so now we have this one, modifier, subdivision surface, and that should be in the viewport, that should be 2. That's fairly dense. In the rendering should be 3. That's pretty dense already. So this one, again, subdivision surface, in the rendering should be 2. That's fair enough. In the rendering here should be about 4. The reason this is a little bit higher is because this one and the iris, these are overlapping geometries, and when you have overlapping geometries, the edge may be jaggy if you don't have the correct resolution. So this is why I like to crank it up a little bit higher, even if these are fairly small objects, so we don't need to go crazy with the resolution. Alright, so there we are. Now we have these, and of course if you wish you can go in and scale it down. So just scale it and move it. Now these are moving, you know, symmetrically, so you can move them out or in, or you can move them top to bottom. But if you want to alter this way and look on a certain direction, it's not that easy. So then you have to break the mirror and separate the eyes and go with that. Okay, that's nice. That's where we are. All right, what else? We can do the nose. We can do the cap. All right, so here we are. Maybe we should start with the nose. So what I will do, I will just Shift D and drag the model on the y-axis. So now this will be the nose. We don't need actually the subdivision at this stage. So let me press X to get rid of it, and use scale to scale it down, and lift this up. And okay, I think the proportion is right. So that's what we will do. And before going crazy, I will apply a mirror modifier, but this one's a little bit different now. So modifiers and mirror modifier, but a couple of settings will be different. So what does it mean? We will apply bisect, and the reason we apply it, so let me go to vertex mode. Here's a vertex. I can move and shift spacebar, and shift spacebar T. And now if I move this, yeah, bisect should be flipped. Okay, so the first thing, axis row, is defines how the mirror is acting. So it's mirroring along the x-axis. That's the red one, so left to right. Bisect means that it will cut in half. It will cut in half. That means you don't have to worry about the rest of the side. Let me turn on the visibility, so you don't have to worry about this side of the model that will be cut away. The flip was actually an issue because this area was respected as the main area, so I had to flip it in order to be able to work on this side, and the results will be mirrored from the right to the left. That's what happens. So let me turn back on the visibility, and I will use a proportional editing. Proportional editing may be a little bit too much, so what I will do is just using the scroll wheel, scrolling up, and make my adjustments and just pull it. Okay, so I will use tweak. I think it's better. So Alt W and using tweak, and just lift this up just to change things a little bit. Working on this side as well, pulling this in, but this one should be pulled out. Clipping should be nice, so I will just make sure that the clipping is working fine. Clipping does actually perfecting the symmetry for us, so we can pull through a certain edge. It's a symmetry, so that's nice if you have to edit something like this. Okay, so that's a kind of a nose. Yeah, make it a little bit more pointy here. Okay, we don't have any special settings on here, so we definitely need to have a subdivision. Okay, right. O, turning off proportional editing, and we need subdivision surface to see how it goes. And that's right, we can go back to proportional editing and O, and maybe adjust these a bit. That's great, pulling this a little bit more out, but yeah, I'm fine with this one. Maybe a little bit, the nose is a little bit more pointy, pulling it a little bit more. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so that's where we are. We'll move on and create the hat. All right, the hat will be generated again from the main mesh. I will not bring in the other spare spheres and other things, because right away Shift D and G and moving along the Z axis. So I will just lift this up, and as you have seen with the eyelids, I will do the same technique, so repeating and removing the polygons we don't want. So let me hit X to get rid of it and scale it down a bit. I think this should be a little bit scaled down. Lifting this up, make sure that the edges are visible. You know, this edge visibility is coming from the geometry wireframe. I have a custom hotkey assigned for this. This is, in my case, it's Alt E. Alt E is only working in object mode, but it's quite handy, easy to remember for me, and it's really useful even in object mode to see the wires time to time. Okay, so going to the front view, and just let me go back and press Alt Z to make it see-through, and going to edit mode, select this guy, and go into face and select the faces. B for box select, a quick box select, B again. I was just messing this up, and there we go. Okay, so this will be the part that I want to remove from this. So X, faces, and then Alt Z and zooming in. Okay, so here is the hat, and the center of this model is a little bit off, so what I will do is just walk up here, object, set origin, and origin to geometry, and it will snap it back to the center. If you want to adjust the center of this whole thing, because it's easier to manipulate the whole, we can switch to move mode, and in and tool, and effect only origins, and now just move the origin to the bottom a little bit, and ta-da. Okay, so here we are. What else do we need? We need a little bit of a scale, because this cap sits on the top, and G on the Z axis. Okay, something like this. I think it's fine. Okay, and we will go through more adjustments. Alright, so there will be a rim for the hat, a ribbon, something like that. We also need a segment to the outer rim, so for that it's tab, Ctrl R, and I will create one, and that will be the outer rim. And maybe this edge or these 2 points will be scaled up a little bit. So let me go to the front, Alt Z to make it see-through on number 1, and B for selecting the whole, and I will select these, I'm sorry, vertex. So let me go B and select the vertices and scale them up a bit, and maybe G, lift them up a bit. Okay, that's quite that's much better. Alright, so, and I want to extrude these faces, Alt Z, and select, holding down Alt and clicking on the closer side edge, and Alt E, and faces along normals will be extruded, which was great. I will leave it as it is, and maybe scale this edge down, because it's quite a sharp thing. So I will set S on the y-axis or z-axis. Okay, it's much more pointy, and we need geometry. We definitely need geometry, but before I do that, switch to edge mode, hit Alt, select this, and scale it down, because, you know, we don't want to be we don't want any visible things around there. Alright, here if we go to isolation mode, that is actually the second button from backspace, isolation mode, or you can use visibility to turn off something if it's in the way, but isolation mode is really a fast way to do it. So I will set select edge mode, Alt click in, scale this up a bit, okay, because it was shrinking with my other previous section. And let me leave isolation mode. Okay, that works fine. Great, we need further edges. So Ctrl R, and on this, and maybe 2 segments. No, 1 is enough. and we don't want to change it, but right away I can just G and move it on the y-axis. Yes, and what you see here, it's going through the bottom, so I will do very much the same thing here, and the G and y-axis. Okay, so now it has a bottom running edge and a top running edge, and definitely I want to create some arc in it, but I will do it manually. And the way I do it is I don't want to work on both sides, so what we already know, we will use that technique. But before I do that, let me go back to face mode, alt clicking on this edge, alt E, and extrude faces along normals, extrude them a little bit. This will create the ribbon. So let me look the effect, and okay, so this is where we are. Maybe in the viewport this should be a little bit higher. Okay, and that's the roundness is a bit off, so I will lift this up a little bit, correct the points. So edit mode, going in, and vertices, and this area, so alt Z, and this area all going to box. Select these points, scale them up a bit, and scale them up a bit to make it more, more true to the original. Okay, B, and select these points. Alt B, and drag them and scale them up a bit, and G and move them up a bit. Okay, so that's what we are, where we are. All right. And maybe the rims should be adjusted, but before I do that I need another modifier, and that will be mirror. Where you are, mirror, and using the technique that we already know, but the problem is the modifier order. So first subdivision usually is performed as a last stage, so we have to change the order. Now this is mirror, and we need clipping on a go, and we need bisecting. Alright, so that's what we're looking for. So if I select this point and move it away, it should follow on the opposite side. Probably we have to flip X. That is perfect. Now it remembers my settings of proportional editing, so that's actually a neat little thing. So I can just select this one, G, and pull this up a little bit. This one, also select the G and pull this up to create that kind of a, not cowboy hat, but something like that. And select this one and just move it closer to the bottom. I think that's fair enough. You can spend some time with that, so I don't want to work too much on this, but this is how you do. You can also select this one and move it in the top, so if for example this is a little bit shortened, you can make those adjustments as well. Alright, nice. If we want to make the edges a little bit thicker, we can also select the running edge, so edge mode, alt and G, and drag up, turning off the proportional editing, G, and on the y-axis, so we can change the thickness of it. So I will just add back a little bit of thickness. Alright, that's fine. That's fine for now, for me, and leave. And maybe pulling this in a little bit more to sit more in the head. That's fine. Alright, now how to do the eyebrows. Eyebrows are a little bit different animals, because we need to make them, generate them on a surface. So what we'll do is we will create a plane. So here we are, Shift A, mesh, and PS plane, and that is created in the very bottom. So we'll lift this up, go to the front mode, and use Shift Space T, rotate, and Control to accurately rotate 90 degrees. And now I'm just placing it around the forehead using the scale, stretching this a little bit, make it smaller, and yeah, we'll have two, and it's quite close. It's touching the surface. It's pretty fine. I can rotate it around, but it's not a necessity. I will leave it as it is, because what we'll do is we want to manipulate the points. Alright, now we need to set this up. Okay, so tab to enter edit mode 1 because we want to operate vertices, and we want to use snap. Snap is space and tab, and the type of snap is a face snap because the elements we want to snap, these will snap onto onto face. So project onto self, and project individual elements can help us. Alright, so when I'm dragging this guy, when I'm dragging this one, I like to use tweak for this. So when I'm dragging this one, it will snap onto the surface. You can see it snaps onto the surface. And here we have another one. Alright, so this one is already sinking kind of into the surface. Right, this is the elemental polygon, so it's fair, it's not enough. We definitely have to extend this. So go to edge mode, select the edge, press E to extrude, and right away, if I wish, I can just press R to rotate it slightly, and just E and drag it, and E, R for rotating it slightly, and I will create another one maybe here, so E and drag this out. Okay, so this is where we are. Now it's not perfect, so we have to go back to just simply tweak mode, number 1, and just selecting these points and just pulling them, and as you're touching them, they will reposition themselves and make sure that they are sticking onto the surface that we already have. So 4 segments is fair enough. This is an element that has no thickness. To add thickness, we will use modifier Solidify. So this is the opposite direction. I will set it to -0.5, and let me leave this isolation mode and see if it works or not. It's still quite a lot, so it's maybe 35. Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, so that's where we are. Now, something that you need to know, that when we are applying another modifier like the subdivision surface, this is what happens. It will generate this little soft shape, and this is looking quite true what we have there. Maybe the thickness is a bit off. If you wish, you can adjust. If you want to create these little segments, these little bumpy areas, the way we do it is we can actually we have to accept Solidify to be able to work on that level. Now let me explain this. I will turn off subdivision, and this is what Solidify does. So now we have a 3D geometry. If you want to go back and edit, you cannot edit the full 3D model, but you can edit the first level, that little stripe that we have. Now, in order to be able to work on the 3D model, we have to accept what we have. Control A, now it is accepted, so it is collapsed into the existing 3D model, and if I press tab now, I have access to each of the polygons. So I will go and select these faces and use extrude. I'm sorry, but Alt E, extrude individual faces. So this will look like these are extruded as one, but actually these are separated extrusions. And scaling them down, and here we are. And when we are applying now the subdivision surface, this is how it looks. So leave isolation mode, leave edit mode, Alt E, and this is where we are. Alright, so we have a couple of things there. So subdivision is there, and of course we want to mirror it, and we have our good friend. This is the mirror base. This is the empty that we have created to serve as a kind of a mirror project. So there we are. Now select this guy and go mirror. Pick the reference for mirroring. So zoom in. I'm sorry. First I have to zoom out because it's not zooming when this is already in picking mode. So click. Once we have the eyebrows, we can move forward and look for probably we can follow with the ears. All right, so the way I do it is I'm gonna use the very same technique as used before. So if there's an existing model, Let me go to sphere and Shift E and copy it to this side along the x-axis. Great, and function key 2 to rename it to ear and R. I like to work on the right side. It's probably because of ZBrush, but that's convenient for me. And hide away the spare part. This is it. And rotating about 90 degrees. Okay, so let me see that. If it happens to be good. 90. Great. And use scale to scale it to fit. Let me watch it from the front view. And G and move it away. Alt Z. And scale it a little bit further. Okay. Scale it down. And I will move it on this side. Work on the scale. Rotate slightly. And the scale. But here the scale becomes a little bit of an issue because okay, it's still fine. I will explain later on about the global mode and normal transformation modes when we are talking about the shoes. But here we are. Okay, and of course it needs to be somewhat flat. All that. So this is where we are. And what we want to create is we want to create the inside rim. Now for that, Alt E, I will insert another edge that's going through here. So edge mode, number 2, and Control R, and click in this edge. It is fine. Maybe I will, yeah, that's fine. Actually, we can glide it a bit. Oh, we have a snap. All right, that's causing a problem. So Alt Tab, snap is on, and GG to slide it. Yes, now it's much better. Okay, slide it. And the polygons I want to select is number 3. And holding down Alt and holding down Shift and Alt and select these and these. I'm sorry, these are already part of the game, so I will get these, but this one not, this one and this one not. So this is what I will do. I will exclude these polygons to create the tragus. So this part. Right, so I'll exclude those and extrude them inwards, and using the scale to flatten this area a bit. Alright, so that's what I do, and pulling them a little bit more back. And now it's time to take a look at the smooth version, but there's a little bit of an arc here. So to replicate that arc, I will select these 2 edges and this one and this one, and move them a little bit to create that nice circular shape. And here, because it's a little bit thicker, I will grab these edges and holding down Shift and grab and pull them a little bit in. Maybe we'll add this to the selection and move them a little bit in. Alright, so if it's too much, the thing is collapsing. Lift this up, and move it. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so this one is moving, this one is moving a little bit upwards. Alright, and this one will be pulled back. Alright, great. And now using modifier subdivision to check it, which one I like. Maybe it can be increased at 2. That's great. Of course, we can shrink it down if it's too much, but as it is now, I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, if we need to make it more softened, we can select this center point. Point this one in here, turn on the proportional editing, and maybe increasing the proportional editing a bit. Yep, to add a bit more roundness. Okay, I like it better. Okay, it's believable that we have that round shape. Alright, great. And move it to the position. So where we are, and here we are, rotation, move to the front and move it here. It's in level with the eye, so it's somewhat larger in the eye. That works fine. Maybe the shape could be a bit more like a kidney shape. So for that reason, I will select these points and move them a little bit outwards. That's it. It was maybe too much from here, but yeah, that's fine now. Okay, so more like a kidney shape. That's great. Okay, because we have two of these, I will use the symmetry, and I will use it now and change the order a little bit later. So picking, we don't need to cut or flip or anything from the right to the left, but we definitely want to change the order. It's usually a better technique if you keep structural modifiers at the first stage, so perform it first, and then the finishing modifiers like subdivision are a little bit up. Okay, now what else? We have the mustache and kind of a mouthpiece, but first the hands are a little bit more complex, so I will start with the hand now. Oops, we are in edit mode, sorry. Shift A, M, and Y, and function key 9, and adjust the vertices number. We don't need 32, and it's enough if it is about 12. And the radius should be a little bit higher, so maybe 2. And the depth, that's definitely need to be a little bit more. Okay, that's too much, so it's hard to adjust. All right, 8, 8, 8. That's fine. And this maybe 1. Is it better? Yes, it is, definitely. Okay. It's not reacting. Something is a little bit off. Yeah. Okay, just let me move it aside. So this will be the hand. I think it's still too much. So just scale it up in this direction. This was fair enough. Let me rotate it to R and on Y-axis, and make sure it's 90 degrees, and lift this up. And where is the position of the joints? So it's somewhere level with the nose. Alright, the nose, by the way, the nose seems to be a little bit small, so we can grab this and move it a bit. Alright, so that's much more articulate. Okay, going back, quick fix. So here's the hands. Still, if I look at the diameter, still we need to shrink it down and scale it along this axis now. I think this should be fine. Let me move this and tab. Okay, so what we need to a little bit emphasize this area at the shoulders. Okay, so Ctrl R to insert an edge loop. Maybe we need 2 of these at least. That's fine, and slide them a little bit higher. Now what I will do is I will select only this edge and move it along the x-axis, and this edge as well, because we need a rim. So that's what I will do. And okay, just scale it up and move it a little bit here. That's fine. This polygon should be extruded, so there's a little bit of a shaft going on. And because it was subdivision surface, we'll apply a kind of smooth thing that's going around. I will do an edge bevel. So we are on edge level, select the edge and Ctrl B and use the bevel function, which was great. And also if you want to make this area sharp, we should do the same. So Control B, and yeah, where we are now in this direction. It's going well. Okay, great. And because if you remember, these polygons could be a little bit tricky, I will just select this polygon and simply delete this one. So it will be kind of a simple tube, and also delete this one. We can still use an insert, for example, insert and create a center, and that protects this edge when the subdivision surface is applied. It protects a little bit of the edge, but I will just keep it fairly simple, and instead of that I will just simply delete the face, and then boom, here we are. Okay, one thing, the transition from this conic shape to this cylindrical shape is a little bit sharper than here. It's more transitioned, so for that we need to emphasize this edge area. So let me turn off the visibility of this one, and to strengthen the transition, edge mode, Alt and Control B, and divide this edge. And when this edge is divided, that means the subdivision modifier will actually divide this area further, and then it will become a little bit sharper. So can you see now the transition is a little bit more clean. Okay, so there's this about the arm, and it's time now to work on the hands. I will shrink this area, so let me go to vertex mode, and make sure that every vertices are visible here. So I'll select with the B all of these vertices and scale them down a bit. Oops, I have an existing selection, so B, and scaling down a bit to make it a little bit more pointy. Alright, which one is a little bit more believable here? Alright, so starting the hands, I need a cube. So Shift A, Mesh, and Cube. Here we are, Cube, C. And a cube, of course, is generated right in the middle. So I will select G and move it along the x-axis. And transformation tool, and lift this up and see where it is. Okay, now we have an intersection, which was great. Scale it down. This is a hand, and I will just create the segments just a second. So that's where we are now. As I see, it's a little bit long, so this arm is not that elongated, so I'll pull this up until I see it fits. So I'll leave it somewhere here, and to fix that issue I will recalculate the whole stuff and just select these G, and along the x-axis we're pulling them back, so it's a little bit more believable of an overall length for this. Alright, selecting the cube, so we will create hands from this. But how many fingers we have? We have 4 fingers. One is the thumb, so we have 3 at here. Control R, scroll, divide. Now we have the 3-finger unit. We also need an edge around here, and place it over here, and an edge around here, and move it. Alright, so to create that color type of look. Alright, face mode, select these faces, and G and Z axis to make it add some roundness. And this one should be a little bit going upwards. Alright, so usually a hand has kind of an arc shape. That helps a lot. And what we do need is this stripe of polygons, because we want to extrude them. So Alt E, extrude along normals, and create an extrusion. And the reason for that is because we want to make sure that this generates a nice kind of rim around. And I will select this polygon and E, and just create a cavity to mimic that the hand is actually going in through the glove. Alright, so we need the fingers, holding down Shift, these polygons, but we want to extrude them individually, not as a whole one unit. So if you remember, Alt E and extrude face, individual faces, extrude them once. And then what I do like is just right away moving them a little bit and rotating them a little bit. Oh yeah, which one axis? Maybe y-axis. Yep. To add a little bit of a cant, and then just picking this one and move it. Excuse me. T, and move it this one aside, and extrude. And scale it down. This one's scaled as well. Okay, this is it's time to check what's going on here. Maybe we need the modifier subdivision surface. Alright, so T. Well, yes, that's great. And we have, these are a little bit canted in one direction, so what I will do, one finger should be a little bit longer, so this is the pinky. This finger should be a little bit longer, so what I will do is just, I will elongate this and elongate this as well, and maybe move it a little bit aside more. Move it, this one is a little bit aside more as well. If you want to select, it's good for fingers. If you want to select the tip of the finger, if you press Ctrl plus, it will select the last digit. Alright, because it's, you know, grow selection. So Ctrl plus. Now we can adjust this. We can even adjust, rotate it around and just move it in a little bit different manner, so add some life. And of course we need to create the what's that, thumb. Alright, so tab, this is the area for the thumb, so I will select this 2 polygons and extrude them along normal. Just this is kind of a base for a thumb, so what I like to do is just pull this a little bit front and rotate this. Pull and rotate. You can see let's also rotate, move it to the side a little bit, so because there's a natural arc of the palm. Alright, so it's good to know about figures. The other thing is that if we just going back and turn off the visibility of this guy, this edge here is a little bit long, it's a little bit pointy, so what I like to do is to soften this a little bit up. So tab and just simply select this edge in edge mode and scale it, and G, and move it a little bit upwards. So just to make sure that when the turbo smooth is applied, the subdivision applied, it is generating nicer, cleaner, smoother transition. And here's the platform we want to extrude the thumb from. Okay, so just hold on for a second. We don't need this one. We need this edge. Pull this edge back in. This edge back in as well. Right, so moving this in, and this area will be our platform for the thumb to be extruded. So face extrude. And before I move on, I like to check what's going on. So I like to check. I'm not sure, that probably we can switch to normal. Yeah, so normal can help us to orient the 3D gizmo according to the position of the face in the 3D space. So by default, this is global when it's measuring the overall, the scene, so it's aligned to the scene. You can see the everything is aligned according to that. So green one is pointing that way, red arrow is pointing that way. But in real life, this whole thing is positioned in somewhat like this, canted and slanted in the 3D space. So normal mode, maybe I will select this edge and pull this a little bit up to get a better grip on here. Face selected again, scale it down a little bit slightly and extrude. And that's nice, and scale that as well a little bit to create that shape. And cool, maybe moving a little bit on this direction and see how it goes. Right, so that's kind of a nice thumb that resembles what we have in the 3D space. This little cuff here, it should be a little bit wider, so let me just turn this off and select, go to Alt see-through mode and selecting the points, vertices, and B, drag, select these guys. I'm not sure if this section, okay, we definitely need to untick these. So yeah, we don't need these. Just clicking on it. And we don't need the global mode, normal mode, just going back to global and stretch it a bit. Alright, and see the result. That's it. I like it a lot. And usually the outer edge, this is a bit more rounded. So what I will do is Alt Z and select B again, all these guys, and just shrink it a bit. Okay, I think that's much more, yeah, okay, much more believable. Alright, so there we are. Now this is the hand. Here comes something that's fairly important. We want to use the hand and the arms as one unit, so it's a good idea to join them. But before joining them, I want to add some resolution to the arm because it's not that much detail yet. So let me turn off the modifier, this subdivision modifier, and see the polygon sizes. And definitely I need to add polygons along this length. So Control R and crank up, and we don't need too much, but we definitely need a few, so that's fine for me. And Control R and clicking on here, adding 2. That's fine in the middle, and probably just to make sure everything is perfect, another one here, and that's fine. So this is the arm. Maybe the hand should have another resolution, so because it's a really blocky at its stage, even for a base mesh. So I will add and collapse a subdivision modifier, but before I do that, I will make a save copy. So don't forget, Shift E and drag. This is a copy for safety reasons. We don't need a cube one, we don't need this one. So every time if something is lost, we can always get back and start over. Saving is also good, but this way you have everything in the file and you just don't go crazy. And adding subdivision 1, level 1, and pressing Ctrl A, that will apply. And now we have a somewhat matching resolution. So this guy and this guy are selected, and Ctrl J is pressed to make sure everything is in one. Okay, now how to bend it? We need a curve to bend it. So I will go to isolation mode, or it's not a necessity. No, not a necessity. I will keep it as it is. Just move it slightly a little bit away to leave some room here. And Shift A and curve and Bezier curve. So that is what's created. Now it's a tiny curve. It's a little bit weird the way it works, but it's basically creating a sample of a curve that you can really just extend and create and modify it your own way, which one could be good. So let me go to see-through mode. Here's the curve, it's visible. Now it's laying flat on the floor. We have an arc here created. So I will hold Control and make sure it's standing up the way I like this curve to be presented. And going in the front viewport, and maybe the visibility of the reference is, yep, it's just too much for now. So what I will do is scale it up a bit, going to edit mode, and these are the points we have. And yes, we can actually the tweak is pretty good with curves. So I'm just selecting this handle. You can see how the handle moves the curvature. The actual point selected, it moves the point itself, obviously. Now we'll just make it flat and use E to extend. So what do we need? We need a point here. We need E, and I'm extending. You can see the little notch here. We need another point here at the end of the palm, and we need another point around the fingertips. Alright, and then just moving the cursor. Here's this other point, make it a little bit sharper. Here's this other point, make it a little bit sharper. Alright, so here's this one. This is just in general for kind of handy stuff. Here, this should be around, you know, we don't have an elbow here, so it's pretty much a curvy stuff. So going in this direction, here at the shoulder, here's another one, and the last one on here. Now, something is off. We have to take care of that. That the handles are usually too strong, you can see, and that means these, when you do something like this, and here's another point, so these are overlapping. Can you see how the curve goes? It's just off. So what we'll do is, before we make any crazy adjustments, what we will do is just reduce the length of this curve, these handles. You can actually just select a point and use scale for that. Okay, where are the points? Scale for that. It's actually scaling down, not the point, it's scaling down the length of the handles. So that you can do. That should be a little bit more. That's fine. This was fine. This was fine. Okay, maybe this handle should be a little bit reduced. Okay, so there we are. Now we have the edge. Oh, I've accidentally moved it away. Okay, so there we have the edge. Now what's next? See-through mode. Here's the model, and we have this little overhang of the curve. So this hand is selected, and what I will apply is a modifier called curve. And in the curve we have curve object, and the curve object is this one. Now it may happen that the hand actually is sliding off. So what I will do, I will pull it back until it just behaves normally. Alright, so now it behaves normally. We have an overhang here, we have an overhang there. And now these two are matching. So what I will do is I will select both of them and move it closer to the body. And now it's integrating. So, and then selecting just the curve, going to edit mode. And now I will transform these. So we can use select box and select these and go to transformation and just move them away. Right, so just move them a little bit and move. You can do it many ways. This is not the best way, technically speaking, but it is a fairly easy way when you see what's going on actually. Okay, so that is one thing. And the other thing is, once we have these points are going, we're moving it closer and rotate it around and just tilt it so it's nice and rounded stuff. Okay, selecting them both, pulling this a little bit out. Okay, great. Now if you want to go in and change the position of the hand, for example, you can do it. Later on you can actually collapse the curve and do what you wish, but right now the next thing we are looking for is mirror, and the good old basic mirror, and we definitely need a subdivision surface, and that is it. Now we have everything moving fine. So Alt W, yeah, for selection we need to go back to the normal select box, okay, and Alt E to hide them away. Right, this is how it looks. Here we have some kind of a pointy stuff. Let me fix that. What's going on here? Yeah, that was an overlap. That's some kind of an extrusion created. So I will just select these points and Control X them away. So hide them away, and probably that fixes the issue. Here we also have generated some extra points on the go. I was pressing something that caused some trouble. So Control X to hide them away. And here we have multiple points as well. Yeah, this one is not. This one's working fine. Control X, and probably that solves the problem. We still have something. Now it's working fine. This was working fine. So this solve can handle many of the issues. Let me pull this back a bit, and pull this back a bit as well to make it more even, more round. Alright, and leave the mode, and now it's fixed. Okay, so now it's looking much nicer. Okay, there we are. Now, what else? Well, we can create the shoes, and we can create the mouth part. Okay, it's time to create the mustache. So the way to do it is Shift A, MP. We need a plane and move it aside and rotate it around. Move it close to the body. Rotate it around until it's fully snapping. Yeah, okay. Now here's the center of it. What I will do is I will go into edit mode, select the face, and just move it aside and scale it along the z-axis. Okay, just move up, move it here in the middle. Okay, so we have 4 strands, so it can start from here. And what we do need is snap turned on, and snap is set to project on the surface, so that's working fine. Polygons should be selected. Let me use tweak and snap the points on here, and extrude once, and there's a slight rotation, and slight rotation, extrude it again, and extrude it again, and a slight rotation in this direction, and going back to points, and this point is selected. So that's quite a big mustache, and maybe because there's kind of a gap in here, I will just use and cut it through. So let me show this what I'm doing. Ctrl R and insert an edge around here. Alright, so these will be extruded. Okay, that's nice. Now what else? I will go back to edge mode, select this edge, pull it out, and scale it down a bit. This edge, E, pull it out, rotate, scale down, maybe pull it back on. So that's what we have now. This edge, E, pull it out, or rotate, and scale it down a bit. Make sure it works fine. And this one as well, rotate or scale a bit. Alright, so that's where we are now. Here's this rhythm. We can alter it by using some points if we are just moving away. Now these are, I'm just looking for the flow. There's a certain direction that helps with the look of this to achieve somewhat similar look. Yeah, there's a decent thickness. Okay, so now what we do need is definitely we want to mirror this, and we want to add some volume to this, and then if we wish we can model from further. So add modifier. Let me go leave edit mode, Alt Z. We need a modifier called the mirror, and the mirror is actually working fine. We need to cut through, and we need to cut through like this way. All right, so this is what we did. Bisect cuts it in the middle, and flip makes sure that we have both sides visible, which was great. And what we do need is the Solidify modifier that adds thickness, but it's a wrong direction, so I will just it's minus 0.3, maybe more, minus 0.5. And then we also need a Subdivision Surface modifier to add more to it. And let me leave, and probably this point should be a little bit closer. We still have the snap. Let me turn off snap. And the bisect is a little bit strong, so that should be merge. Yeah, merge is okay. 0.05 merge, and probably that will just, okay, that's not as strong now, and 0.05, and yeah, so now we have a little bit more room around here. Okay, that's what we can do. And if you want to create that edge around, The way to do it is we can actually give it a try. Yep, we can change the order. So mirror is there. So what I will do is I will apply Control A, apply Solidify, but I have to go in edit mode. I'm sorry, object mode. Control A, apply Solidify. So everything is there. And now switching back to edit mode, because what we have basically now we have a solid model, and we can use Control R, cut through here, Control R, cut through here, Control R, cut through here, and Control R, cut through here, and select the edge. Number 2, this one, holding down Shift, this one, holding down Shift, these, and pull them, or actually just this one, but I will go with this, and pulling this out, and see what we have. All right, so now we have kind of an edge that's running on top. If you want to make it more articulate, what you can do is select the whole set of edge and use Ctrl B and add this split. And if you wish, we can select the face and G and pull it to make it even more pointy. All right, so if the goal is to perfectly copy the other thing, this is what we should do. So I'm sorry, yep, edge mode, alt clicking, Ctrl B and chamfer it, and then just going back to face mode, select a single face and G and pull this a little bit. Now it's a little bit more pointy. That's how it goes. And if we want to make it thinner up here, we should definitely select the edges around. And if it's too much, it's just simply click and select all these, and then just G and move it. And now it's much more flattened. We still have this point out. So clicking away, point out, G, and on the y-axis, it's pulling back on. All right, and I will turn on proportional editing and pull this up until it fits the nose. Okay, so that's where we are. All right, so that is about the mustache. And we have subdivision. Subdivision should be higher, of course, in rendering, so that's about 4. That will be pretty much smooth. I will not model the whole mouth area, but basically the mouth should be somewhat same as we have in here. That's how it goes. All right, we will take a look at the shoes. So for first, I will create a simple one, a single one. So we have sphere, and duplicate it. And we want to reset it to the dead center, well, by doing Alt G and pulling it a little bit forward and rotate it slightly and moving it to the bottom. So this rotation is required because we have these kind of stripes, so that's the reason I want to rotate. And I think the resolution is a little bit off, so we need something else. But before I do that, I will rename it to shoe and body, and this will be the right one. And we need more resolution. Now the easiest way to do it is applying a subdivision, and right away press Ctrl A to apply and accept, and now we have a little bit of a more density on here. What I will do next is we'll just crunch it a little bit in multiple directions, and I think it is fair enough. So we have something similar like that, and go to the left viewport and choose bisect. So tab, and here we have bisect. So we select faces and select the faces first. These are the faces we want to bisect, and bisect is active, so I'm dragging, holding down Control to make it horizontal, and holding down space to move it. It's just like in Photoshop, and we should cut somewhere here. I think it's fine if we do that cut. Alright, perfect. And left click, and now we have a clean cut along. And what's next? Let me press Alt Z. And now the polygons are here. These are cut polygons. But this one is still a single model. So what we can do is we can give it a try to split the edge. So in edge mode, Alt and clicking and selecting the edge, and right click, and there's edge split. Okay, so we have options, faces by edges. So that's what we do. Clicking the left mouse button, and now we have this edges looks like a little bit thickened. So if I press L, this is the top half. If I press L over here, this is the bottom half. So I can select that, and X, faces, and delete. Alright, so that's where we are. Of course we need a soul, but first we need to create those ribbon-like shapes. So I will go back to face mode and select these, holding down Shift, and select these. It's not that easy to select because we have vertices really close, because it's not a perfect quad model anymore. We have triangles here and there, so if you want to make it absolutely precise, then you have to go through the whole stuff and edit manually. But right now this is just a quick mock-up, and this will be covered by the sole of the shoe. So Alt and click in here and holding down Shift to add to the selection, Shift and Shift, and same thing here. And there's another polygon, and I will add this one, so holding down Alt and Shift to add to the selection, holding down Shift to add, and there we go. And this will be, oh, I've just made it wrong, so this was a little bit off. I will add to this. Okay, this will be a little bit thicker in the bottom, but I think it works anyway. It's thicker here. Okay, and Alt E, and along normals we'll do this little extra, and just to test we can go and select Subdivision Surface and see what it does. So it looks really nice. It's not as sharp as it should be, so if we want to make it a little bit more sharp, what we can do is actually holding down, press 2, select this edge, while holding down Shift, Shift and Alt and clicking on the edge, Shift and Alt and clicking on the edge, so those are selected, and also do it here. That is right. I think it's enough if we just chamfer the edges at the bottom. Okay, it's too much, just a tiny bit. Alright, I think it's enough. Left click and see what it does. Okay, so go back to edit mode, and I think it's fair. It's fair enough. Alright, so going back. Now what do we need? In the viewport this should be at 2, and in the rendering this should be at 4, 3 to 4. That's fair enough, and it's quite smooth enough. Alright, we need to add the sole, and we need to add the laces part. This is just, simplified stuff. So let me first start with the sole, and Shift A and Y, and change the vertices to about 20, 26 maybe. Yeah, that's good. Okay, that's good. Once it is subdivided, it will be quite smooth and nice. Okay, and then I will return it back. Scale a bit. Okay, so there we are. This is the sole, and a couple of things we have to take care of is first of all, we need an edge that's running around. So for that purpose, for that reason, I will go to edit mode, I inset, and just click away, select the polygon, in the polygon mode, I inset, and just insetting this one. And that's one good point, and here I will do the same, and inset one, inset another time, inset another time. And to make sure that this is not an end-gun, because it's not that visible, we can actually hide it away and collapse it. So I can go to vertex mode. Now the vertices will remain. We remember that was the face selected, and these vertices are belonging that face. So it's a kind of a selection conversion. And right click, and we have merge vertices, and we can collapse them so they will land as one single. If you want to make it a full quad, yes, you definitely have to select, for example, a 12-sided cylinder and then create the cuts and everything, but that way you can make it a perfect one. Or you can start from a plane and shape the shoe that way. That's also an option. Here is just another method that could be used, and it's still capable to bend if you wish, this type of shoe. Alright, so go back to edge mode, select this edge, and yep, alt clicking and shift alt clicking and Ctrl B and adjust the bevel. Alright, that's fine. Go back to normal mode and just make it a bit more accurate to the size of the console. Alright, that's fine. That's perfect now. Okay, managing to make these lace parts. I will use the same thing. So Shift D, G, and on a next axis. And because it has no top part, what I will do is I will go to edit mode, select this face, and Ctrl plus grow selection, Ctrl plus even more, delete these, select the whole unit and go to rotation and rotate fully, so rotate even more. Okay, make sure it's horizontal and scale it down now, in the necessary directions, and then move it up and then scale it and then move it back on. Alright, so this will be kind of a patch. Rotate it slightly. Alright, edit mode, edges, clicking away, select this and pulling. Alright, proportional selections there. And pulling this one, so now we have that kind of a thickness, and then we can do this, so we have kind of a patch that's going on. Okay, so Alt E, so that could be the patch, and of course if we wish we can add more to it, but that's fine for now. And to make sure that everything is working as one unit, I can actually remove the temporary subdivision modifiers. Here we don't have any, here we don't have any. So what we can do is join them. Select this one, and this one, and Ctrl J to make them one single unit, and then move it away and rotate it according to the needs. Sorry, wrong axis. So this is it there, and I'm looking for the center, so based on the image these will weld anyway, so we can weld them. There we are. And modifier is mirror modifier, the reference point is this one, so it's welding now. Of course, if I want, I can make corrections, but these are welding anyways. Right, so the figure's sitting right there. Cool. And another modifier on top of this is a subdivision modifier, and as you see there's no bisect, so these two are individual parts. There's an overlap. It's not a necessity. If you want, you can actually grab them and move them away. Something is off, as I see. The sole is a little bit off, so what I will do, I will go to edit mode, select just the sole and move it slightly, maybe scale it up a bit. Oh yeah, it's too much, but yeah, holding on here, and then going back, Alt E, perfect. And we have one subdivision, but I will add 2, and we can add it to 4 in a rendering. Okay, so that's what we can do now. Okay, perfect. Now, just to closing the stuff, we can create. I will create a closed mouth, but basically, the teeth and many other things are just like similar as we did with the rest of it. But some kind of a mouth should be there, so then we'll create that one quickly, and maybe. Okay, I will just start Shift A, M, and P as a plane, just moving it aside, rotate it, and move it a little bit closer to the body. So that's the process. It's already known by you. So what I will do, scale it down. Oops, scale it down on this axis, and go to Edit mode and in Face mode. Select the face, pull it away, and select the edge. This edge, maybe we can pull this E, extrude. There we are. And actually I will just select this, move it up, this one, move it up, and I'll keep it very simple. So move in and level up, object mode. Modifier, what we need is mirror. It works fine because the pivot point, the origin, is already at the center because I moved the plane itself in edit mode. So when you are moving your object in edit mode, don't forget the origin will remain at the same position. So that's what we did, and it's not really lying on the model, but I'm not really worried about this because we can use Solidify, and Solidify minus 1, that's too much, but minus 0.5, that should be nice. And we can add Subdivision Surface to smooth things. Probably mirroring needs to be solved, and of course subdivision needs to have more resolution. And yeah, this could be colorized as red, but that's it. Basically, just a simple, basic mouth shape to be present. All right, so this model is definitely not needed, and we can turn off the visibility. You cannot really select because we have used the lock, but we have reference, and there we are. And just close it, and basically this is what we have. So thank you very much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Goodbye.